from what I've learned in the literature, is that criminal behavior is learned behavior. And I think the Congressman makes a very good point that the young people and the men and women that we're talking about, it's not that they're dumb, it's not that they're crazy, but this is, for some of them, in the situation they find themselves, crime becomes a rational business choice. And if we can afford them an opportunity and teach them other ways of leading their lives, socially appropriate ways, ways to be good neighbors, ways to be good citizens, if we can, as you say, embrace them and say they are part of our community, and we can't push off and say it's the state's responsibility to cure what's wrong with them. It's a collective responsibility that we share. I once worked for a guy who said government can't give a hug. Government doesn't give hugs. Only the people in the community can give a hug.
And I would say that, in New York, it's wonderful to sit at the reentry planning table. We have a reentry task force and then 12 smaller community task force, but every agency that affects an adult, inmate, or juvenile is at that table. So we're talking about the financing, we're talking about the housing, we're removing the barriers to getting jobs, removing the barriers to getting appropriate identification. We are working together across systems to make this reentry a much easier and a much more respectable process for the people that we work with.
Right. And what has been the reaction coming from families? I mean,
Ed, I can tell you that we've been getting telephone calls from people that we've never heard of, don't know, from all across the country, just sort of expressing. Someone had gone down to Angola prison in Louisiana the other day, and the lady stopped me and said, we were dealing with these people in the prison, and they knew about Second Chance, and they were asking when was it going to happen. And so the response has just been tremendous. And that's why I think it's so important that we make sure that we get the appropriation, that we get it fully funded, so that we'll have money for block grants for states. We'll have money for direct grants to not-for-profit organizations, to faith-based organizations and institutions to implement programs. And the name of that church, I just thought of it because is the Macedonia Baptist Church. Reverend Rayon, South Bend, Indiana.
Right.
Absolutely. They were just doing it. I mean, I almost was moved to tears because all of the stuff that we were talking about, here it was being practiced by this congregation and showing that, yes, people can, in fact, embrace individuals and demonstrate to them that they care about them, that they're not afraid of them, they're not going to shun them, they're going to help them. And I think that's what we just really must have.
The enthusiasm with which faith communities have embraced this idea of reentry and are really waiting for the kind of support that Second Chance will afford is remarkable. In New York, we've been working with some of the faith-based organizations, trying to get them engaged, mentoring, and so on. And before we came into the studio, one of my staff was recounting a story that we had organized a meeting of our folks from the correction department and the leaders of some of the faith communities. It was a Sunday night, and it was a snowy night that we had this past winter, and over 150 people showed up. At 7:30 on a Sunday night in the snow and the sleet and the cold, and they turned out. And that's the thing about faith communities. They're there when you need them.
Right. Let me ask, I guess, in terms of, does this bill cut across all prisons, other than the federal? I mean, will others be able to benefit from it?
Oh, without a doubt, because of the fact that you can get these grants. I mean, that's where the money is going to actually go. States will apply for block grant monies, and then they'll use those monies whichever way they decide.
Right.
Some individual organizations and groups, and there are many of them, quite frankly, across the country, who do excellent jobs but don't have much money. I mean, if they had the money to coordinate their activities and to bring in more people, then, of course, they're going to be able to help more people, and the impact on not just their individual members, but the impact on the whole community just becomes unbelievable.
Well, I like the idea that there's some flexibility because, in some areas the problem is one thing, in another area the problem is something else. Like, for instance, a lot of the youngsters get involved in drug abuse and at an early age. And then, of course, coming out, they would need counseling and support system and all kinds of things that to be able to sort of keep them from going back. And so you would have the flexibility to establish a program that you feel that would assist them in terms of being able to stay sober.
Right, and treating them is such a model for their siblings. Often they're younger children in the home, and they see the older one is getting treatment, the older one is getting well, the other one is engaged in other positive activity, and they see positive activity as an opportunity or possibility for them, not incarceration. When they receive treatment, they're not going immediately back into a facility if they mess up. So there's some graduated sanctions that could be administered so that young people can make a mistake, know that the mistake can be fixed, not have to go back to jail or back to a juvenile facility, but in fact be treated right there in the community and return home and return to the school that they're in, stay in the work program that they're in, but receive their services and be allowed to develop normally.
Right.
And I always say, if you're not talking about substance abuse treatment, then you're not really seriously talking about reentry.
Justice, right.
Because more than half the individuals who are being incarcerated now have some relationship. I mean, they are either users, they are distributors, they get involved in drug conspiracy, they got caught with something somewhere, somehow. And so at the core of many of our problems related to crime and criminology in the United States is substance abuse.
Yeah. Our numbers in New York City are closer to 80% who are in jail have an addiction to alcohol or other drugs, oftentimes cocaine, heroin. And what is clear, I've been in this business 39 years, and the congressman is absolutely right. If a man or a woman gets out of jail and he starts getting high again, he's going to fail. And we have to break that cycle.
Right, well, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Congressman Davis, for your outstanding work and your vision. I mean, you really, really, really worked real hard on this, and I think that you're going to save a lot of families and save a lot of lives as a result of your work. And I want you to know that I do believe that we're going to save money as a result of your efforts.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you, Commissioner Horn, for your work and your insight. And sometimes you have people in positions of commissioners that don't support these kind of things. I mean, and I want to thank both of you and Deputy Commissioner Burrell for your support and understanding of how important this is. I talked quite a bit with the District Attorney of Kings County, a guy by the name of Joe Hines.
Great leader on this.
Yeah, I mean, he is totally committed to making certain that programs like this work, and he's very involved in getting the faith community in.
That's right.
And of course, sometimes people say, well, how would the district attorney be interested in this? But if you're interested in people and turning their lives around and strengthening families, you have to be involved and be supportive of programs like this. So I want to thank all of you for being on News and Views. It's a pleasure,
It's a pleasure.
talking with you, and thank you for the work that you're doing on behalf of our young people. Thank you for your commitment and your dedication.
Thank you.
And Danny, thank you for staying with it, because I know how tough it is to get legislation through around here sometimes.
In it together.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
You have been watching Political News and Views with Congressman Ed Towns of the 10th Congressional District of New York. If you have any questions or comments regarding this program, please write care of Congressman Ed Towns, U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. 20515, or call 202-225-5936.